Hi, everyone. Welcome back to News, Games, and More. I am your host, Sydney Goodman. I don't know why I'm talking like a robot. That's so weird. It's Tuesday. It's a short week, and we're happy to be here. We've got some killer news today. Holy wow. But before I introduce our lovely panel of, I didn't say judges. I mean, I guess we're judging the news. So whatever. It's fine. Clearly, you guys know what to expect on Tuesdays when I'm hosting. But before I introduce everybody, I have a question. Who loves anime? Is it you? I saw you raise your hand. Well, if you love anime or not, you're going to want to stick around because Watch From Home Theater has All Elite Wrestling's Kenny Omega stopping by to watch Hayao Miyazaki's incredible Spirited Away. In addition to being a ridiculously good pro wrestler, Kenny also loves anime, just like you, who raised your hand. So queue up your copies of Spirited Away and be sure to leave comments and questions for Kenny and the IGN host. Clint Gage and Nick Lamone will both be hosting. It starts at 5 p.m. Pacific, and why that is relevant to you, 8 p.m. Eastern, is because that is right after this show. So if you're excited about that, go get a snack or something once we leave, and then make sure to come back at 5 because it'll be super, super fun, or I guess 8 or whatever time it is in your time zone. It'll start about 30 minutes after we wrap the show. Anyways, hi, everyone. So today we have Tom Marks.
Hello.
We've got Josh Dew.
Hi, I'm wearing headphones now, too. I just wanted to match with you guys.
Cute. And Janet Garcia.
What's good?
What's good? Man, that's my
What
last
is
name.
good?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Josh. So today, Xbox Series S got revealed, or confirmed rather, got leaked yesterday, but Microsoft released the previously leaked trailer, and we got tons of hot details like the price and release date. But I'm going to leave you in suspense because first I'm going to go through the official list of details, which includes specs. So it will be all digital. It'll run at 1440p at up to 120 FPS, DirectX ray tracing, variable rate shading, variable refresh rate, ultra low latency, custom 512 gigabyte SSD, that's small, 4K streaming media playback, 4K upscale for games, and it will be $299, released on November 10th of this year. Oh, look, perfect. It's small. It's a small boy. And Aaron Greenberg on Twitter, who works at Microsoft, said that it'll fit in a backpack. And I don't know why that little detail just really excited me, but if you want to travel with it in your backpack, you can, which is great. But we still don't know pre-order info. Xbox says we'll hear more soon. Obviously, this is no announcement of the Xbox Series X, but I think it does give us some like starting, a nice, what is it called? Like diving board to jump off of. Is that a thing? Not sure. But Janet, I'll start with you. It is now. How are you feeling about this? I mean, it's not true 4K and there's no disk drive. Do you think this matters? Are you still excited? I mean, it's a low price point.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good move for them. Personally, also just for starters, I think we'd be remiss not to acknowledge that you can fit most consoles into a backpack if you empty out the backpack enough and just like try. Like I put my PS4 in a backpack, so
but it's upsetting and sad.
This isn't new. Sometimes you have to go far places and you just have to figure out how you're going to fit your PS4 in a backpack. So
Series
I feel like
X might be debatable though.
That's not really. The first thing I'm going to do when I get my Series X is try to put that thing in a backpack, and I will report back to y'all on my findings.
Perfect.
But all petty details aside, I think this is a smart move. I mean, we've known about Lockhart for a long time. This is finally official confirmation. It sucks for them that it had to kind of be at we sort of had their hand forced with the leak, but it's out there now. The price point's amazing. It's honestly way better of a price than what I expected. Admittedly, as someone that loves physical media, I'm never really excited about a lack of disk drive, but it's nice that finally Microsoft is giving a price point that feels appropriate / good for something that doesn't have a disk drive. We all know that with their SAT edition, you didn't really see much of like a price drop for that, which was a really odd choice. So this being at $300 is so competitive. Like that's the price of like what the Switch was when it came out, which was super cheap for being like a next gen machine, Nintendo's next gen machine, or however you want to phrase that. So yeah, this is awesome. I think it's a good option for people that don't mind not having the disk drive. And admittedly, even me, like I have like 4 or 5 physical Xbox games, but I have them and I like that I have them. So that part's a little bit less appealing, but like I didn't expect it to have a disk drive. And I think it makes sense given the era, how things are moving, Microsoft's history, and also like the other PS5 SKU also doesn't have a disk drive. So it's right on par for me.
Mm-hmm. So Josh, what do you think that this means for the other PS5 SKU without a disc? Do you think that the price will be competitive to the Series S?
I mean, realistically, I don't think anybody will care. I think most people have already decided. That's what I mean. Most people, I would like.
Okay.
I don't think they're.
So you don't think
like
this changed anybody's mind?
No, I think it might have changed people's mind to like buy an Xbox Series S, if anything. Like
also versus.
Yeah, if they had to choose. Like I think having to choose between two $500 consoles would be like a little more weightier option than like having. I don't know. I like the $300 option. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say.
So you're trying. Well, you just said it. So good job, Josh.
Thank you.
You accomplished that one. Tom, I like that. Tom, how are you feeling about this? Are you I don't know, Josh, sorry, you said that you were excited, but you sounded really lukewarm. So I guess, how are you feeling? Are you as lukewarm as Josh?
Well, what I will say is real quick, just to talk about the leak too, I think it's really funny that in like an era where we're so like companies are so trying to get ahead of leaks nowadays that they'll announcements of announcements, right? Like we've talked about this on the show before, right? Of like you'll get like, I mean, we're going to talk about it later. There wasn't a Dune trailer. There was an announcement that a Dune trailer is coming tomorrow, right? Like everyone does this across the board. You get an announcement of an announcement, and that's partly is just to get ahead of leaks. And like the place that hasn't been true is console prices, where both companies are just like holding the line, and it was only a matter of time before that damn broke. So like I'm not really surprised from that aspect of it, and I'm kind of glad that I'm never happy that like, you know, people's plans are getting ruined or anything like that, but I am glad that the issue is getting forced a little bit, right? Like because I was sort of tired of the game of chicken, even if I'm not, you know, thrilled about leaks just being a thing, because they just screw up other plans. But as for this specifically, I think this thing is insanely appealing, right? Like I'm still not going to get an Xbox because I have a PC, and part of Microsoft's whole promise with Xbox in the next generation is you're going to be able to play everything across both. So like I physically don't need this box either way. But that said, like Janet said, a new Xbox at the price of a Switch is like nuts. That is a thing that will sell. And the rumor was that the Xbox Series X was going to be $200 more. That has not been confirmed, right? But it was going to be up at $500. And if that's the case, if that actually is the case at $500, having a $300 model is like crazy appealing. That's nuts, right? Especially if Sony has to come out and be like, hey, we tried to compete with the Series X and ours is $500 also. Right? Like, and we don't know if that's the case, but like, that's like, this is a really, really, really enticing price point. It's a very enticing price point. And on the 4K thing specifically, our own Justin Davis actually tweeted about this, that like 33% of households have a 4K TV, right? And like, there was some stat, and I think this is out of date, but there was something like half the people who have 4K TVs, like don't even set them up right. So they're not even using 4K.
Well, right? I feel really exposed with that statistic.
I was just going to say that. So I have like a really embarrassing anecdote.
Googled how to set up 4K TV.
Yeah,
I'm like,
is it not just the HDMI?
Like,
well, so like some like my TV is 4K, but I only have 2 HDMI ports that are 4K, and one of them is actually a lower refresh rate because it's kind of an older 4K TV. So like unless I have my PlayStation plugged into a specific TV HDMI, like I'm not getting 4K out of that. And some people just don't know that. Other people don't know that sometimes it's a menu, like an item you got to turn on in the menu. Sometimes it's a menu item. Like there's a bunch of reasons that people just don't take advantage of 4K. And that's already talking about the fact that only a third of people who have TVs have a 4K TV. So like for 2/3 of the population, this means nothing that it can't run 4K, right? Like it literally means nothing. They're basically just seeing, oh, hey, the Xbox is only going to be $300. So that's crazy appealing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that obviously $299, really great. To be honest, I did not think that I would ever say that I am interested in buying a Series S, but for the price and the fact that like my monitors aren't 4K right now, and I don't know that I'm going to upgrade them anytime soon, it is really appealing. But going back to the Switch thing, and that you could get a Switch, and I feel like so many of my friends who I've like coerced to kind of liking video games, they're interested, and they always go for a Switch because it's like, it's more accessible than saying like, oh, go buy like a PlayStation or an Xbox One. And knowing that next generation, I'd be able to say, hey, like, let's play Halo, go get an Xbox Series S. It's really exciting. Like, I am so into that whenever Halo comes out. But what do you think that this means for the Series X? I know that, Tom, you mentioned that there was a price kind of like floating around the internet that is not confirmed at this point, which is $499. But what happens if it's more than $499? Like, do you think that that's going to do significant damage? What do you think that at this point, even if they're like they need it to be $499?
Well, I think that there was this, I was operating under the perception that if it was going to be, let's say it's $599, let's say it's a $600 console, that to me was like a doomsday scenario for this next gen. Right. Mm-hmm. And especially it was a doomsday scenario because in this world that I had like was kind of hypothesizing, that would mean that whatever the Series S was 500. Right. Mm-hmm. Like that's how I was framing it in my brain is like one of these is going to be, if one of these is going to be 600, the next will be 500. Or if it's going to be 500, the next will be 4. And like now if it's Series X is 600, like I don't necessarily see that as the end of the world for Xbox, because then you still have an incredibly like appealing low price option. It's almost like, and this isn't necessarily like a glowing comparison, but like it's almost like the Apple model of things, right? Where you have the brand new, extremely expensive new hotness option, and then you've got the incremental upgrade at a much more affordable price. And like for iPhones or something like that. And like that's like in a world where this $300 console exists, a $600 console no longer spells like doomsday to me. I think it would still be really expensive and I wouldn't buy one, but like it's not like the end of the world as I previously thought it might be.
Mm-hmm. I kind of want to push back on that a little bit, only to say that I think putting it at $600 for the Series X, this name is really hard to say, versus the Series S, it sort of gives you this chasm of like you're on both extremes, and I don't think it's ever good to be completely on both extremes because what you'd be looking at is a weaker model that doesn't have a disk drive, which I know not a lot of people care about, but I feel like it is some form of a factor, versus like you can get the really good thing, but the really good thing is like sort of overpriced, like especially if like the $500 mark is hit by Sony, it sort of becomes, well, do I shell out more than I'd like to get the thing that is most powerful, or do I save more than I expected to, but get something that I don't want? It's kind of this really odd scenario that they'd be stuck in. I think it's pretty likely, besides the fact that there's a leak, like that it's pretty likely it'll be 5, especially I'd be shocked if like the gap between two models of the same gen released at the same time would be that large. Like a $300 gap is massive.
Yeah.
So that would really surprise me. And I think it would kind of be, in true Microsoft fashion, a step forward and then a step back. So we'll see what happens with this. But yeah, that's kind of how I'd feel about that price point. And then in relation to Sony, like with what this kind of actually made me concerned for is like what I was kind of concerned for out the gate with the 2 SKUs. Am I going to feel like I'm being upcharged to have a disk drive? Because at least with Xbox, sure, like you don't have a disk drive on the other model, but you also know it's weaker and the price point feels reflective of the product you're getting. I even would have thought that if the gap was $100, though not as much, the $200 potential gap is a lot more appealing. But if Sony's going to come off with like 400 and 500 or 500 and 600, that's going to skew a lot more negative for me. So it sort of kind of reshaped my expectations and desires of what I want out of Sony's 2 SKUs. So I'm really interested to see what they come up with, but they're kind of stuck because the machines are basically the same machine. So I can't imagine the prices being that different. Right. And they're kind of screwed on that either way, at least from how I feel about it. I'm sure from a business standpoint, they're probably fine because they're super powerful and successful, but yeah.
I think that's a really good point, that like seeing the 2 Xboxes in comparison and seeing such like what it's allegedly a $200 price difference, but the consoles are so different as well, does give you this feeling like, oh, maybe there is greater value in the Series X, or like I know you have this also this cheaper alternative as well, but like PS5, they do look exactly the same. And if there is a bigger price difference there, it'd be kind of weird.
So sorry, go ahead.
Do you guys like think $499 is like too high, too low, just right? It sounds like you guys think it's like just right.
I mean, I wouldn't have been mad if it was less, because like I'm still kind of like, oh man, I'm gonna spend like $1,000 in consoles before the end of the year. Like I don't want to do that.
$500 is a lot of money, but it's also given like the specs that we've been hearing about this stuff cheaper than you would think. So like $500 to me brings us like ideal, because I doubt they can go lower, but not ideal as like a consumer.
I think that's like exactly where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've kind of not skirted around the question necessarily, but we've like sort of touched on it, but I want to just like ask it straight up. Do we think that this has broken up this game of chicken in terms of getting a price, even if it's not for the like main SKU? Like,
no.
do we? No. I like the optimism.
The only reason they came out with the price is because they had their back against the wall. They got totally exposed and called out, and I guess just scrambled to make a decision. They just happened to go with the one where they confirmed it. They could have easily just said nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And
they confirmed it like halfway too.
Yeah, well,
the leak was
they only confirmed part of the information.
Yeah.
They're like, I'll tell you something, just at least so that it's. Well, I don't really know the rationale behind why they even did that. Not that I'm mad they did it. I'm glad that I'd want to hear from them what they're doing. But yeah, given that alone, I think clearly these companies have their own plan for what they want. And they're like, you can keep asking me, but I put it in my planner. So we're just going to wait. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to wait. And that's basically like the vibe I'm getting. So I don't think Sony's necessarily looking at this and saying, well, they put this out. Let me just now jump the gate and just like go or the gun or whatever metaphor you want to use and just go and put my price out, especially because they have nothing to gain from doing that necessarily, and also have potential to lose depending on if the price isn't competitive. So now they're just like, oh, well, looks like your thing kind of fell apart there. Well, I have my secrets. So I'm sure that they don't talk that way, but that's how I picture it in my head.
I'm remembering what Tom said, I think, about like the news cycle. You don't want to put all the news out there at the same time, because then people will talk about it for 24 hours versus if you spread out this news, people would be talking about it for weeks, and so I think that it makes sense to me why Xbox only confirmed half this news, because if they're like, yeah, that's all of it, then everybody be like, oh, okay, and then we just talk about that and then it's over. But now we can keep talking about the Series X like we are right now, and keep talking about the PS5 speculation right now. It does make sense to me. That's all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we were not very far away from this reveal, even without right? Like I like this. The trailer that they had was like ready, right? Like that trailer was done, and like those things take a lot of time, like on the back end, like the fact that they just had it ready means to me that they like probably this announcement was like within a week away anyway. The thing that does surprise me about that is the fact that we got a price here and not of the X yet. But like, I'm not sure how that forces each hand. I do think that probably we're getting close to whatever Sony is announcing soon too. But I don't know, like Janet said, I don't know if that's necessarily caused by this. I just think that we're hitting a point now where like they got to be doing this stuff. Like they just have to be. Like they want pre-orders and they want to know how many units they need to get, where they need to get them before the holiday. Like we're at a certain point where they need to be doing this.
Do you think they're going to split up their announcements too? And be like, the digital version is this much. A few days later, they'll say the disc version.
No, it's so weird to have like it's so weird to have the SKU that we just barely learned about be the first price point we get.
Yeah.
Like that's so weird. But like I get that it is not like based on their own intentions. So like I'm guessing they weren't planning on doing that because it seems very weird to do. But I don't know. This year is kind of odd. One quick thing I do want to ask you guys, based on some questions we had in the YouTube chat, is what do you guys think of the design of the Series S?
I wish that it didn't have I wish that it was all white. Like I'm fine if they had to have put the grates there, but I just don't understand why it's black.
So you're looking for a Wii. You'd like a Wii? It's called the Nintendo Wii.
I have a Wii sitting outside of my console, my TV console, just for looks, Tom. It's definitely not because my husband won't rewire it and put it inside of the cabinet.
It would also just look like an Xbox One, wouldn't it? A One S.
But it stands up, Josh.
Well, so does the One S.
Stand up, though. Anything can stand up if you stand up.
That's true.
Okay, I just don't like that it kind of looks like a speaker. And I know I'm not the only person that has said that. I also got it ruined for me because I saw on Twitter that somebody photoshopped it with plankton. Like it looked like plankton from SpongeBob. And now I can't unsee it.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's as ugly as everybody says it is. I feel like people are really upset about it.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Is it better or worse looking than the Series X?
I think it's better just because of the size. Like, seeing some of those photos recently come out of the Series X with like people holding the Series X. That thing's so big,
dude. It's as thick as a GameCube. Like that's wild to me.
It's as thick as a GameCube, but like more than twice the height.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. I'm sorry. We have to move on. I could talk about this forever, but
what is a better alternative to the circle other than white? That's what I would suggest. Like. Do you think an X would be better?
I just said we have to move on, Josh. You need to respect.
I want to know. I want to know.
Well, I thought it was a disk drive.
I know you have to move.
It was like a PlayStation.
Oh, that would be sick.
Thing.
Oh, that'd be so weird.
Right?
What?
That's what I
thought. This disk drive herself? You think that's weird?
Or a turntable?
That's a good way for your disk. There's a reason that we stopped making it that way, and it's because all those disk drives are broken. I tried to play Sunshine, and it wouldn't read the disc. That's why I have to pay $60. I was gonna pay it anyway. Still,
it feels so like futuristic. Like press a button. Yeah. It's like
it feels like you're gonna get your like dusty hands into the drive, and then it's gonna get all corrupted. I think the X would be a little cheesy. Okay, now I'm gonna let you do your thing. Cheesy. So yeah, the X would be too much.
I don't know how to save it except for the white. That's all I can think of. So I don't know. I guess we can't blame them for doing what they did. No. Anyways, Tom, here I'll give you. You look like you had one more thing to add.
I think it's very funny. Last thing. I think it's very funny. All the people who saw the PlayStation 5 reveal and were like, "Why you got to make an all white console? That's so ugly." And then Microsoft must have been in the background, just like, "Oh shit! Oh no!" Quick, make the circle black.
Just right. Wait, actually, we also kind of skipped over the release date, though, didn't we?
November 10th. I said it.
Well, my question is, they only confirmed November 10th for the Series S, but like,
it'll be. Okay, we'll just keep talking about this.
It's gonna be
the same. It's gonna be the same, right? It's gonna be the same. Like, they're just not saying it. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna.
I think it'd be really funny if it wasn't the same, but it won't do that. I just think I'd get a good laugh.
Yeah. No, it'll be the same.
They wait for Sony, and then they do it one day earlier. There we go.
There you go. You heard it here first, but that's speculation. It's not true. Okay. So I just got to put that out there. So another big set of rumors. It wasn't rumors. News today is that Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity was announced, which on any other news day would have been like the biggest piece of news. But we got two today, folks, because yesterday was a holiday. I don't know, maybe not. But anyways, it's set 100 years before Breath of the Wild, and it's being released in November, 10 days actually after the Series S on November 20th, 2020. So players are going to learn more about Zelda, the four champions, Mipha, Rivali, Urbosa, and Daruk, the King of Hyrule, and the history of Hyrule through, quote, dramatic cutscenes as they try to save the kingdom from Calamity. So yeah, you're going to get to experience the great Calamity reference in Breath of the Wild for yourself. Did anyone here play the original Hyrule Warriors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hyped. Can I just say real quick, I'm hyped as hell for this.
No, say as much as you want.
The original Hyrule Warriors was like a really surprising thing when it first got announced. Everyone was like, why are they making a Musou like Dynasty Warriors style game out of Zelda? But then it ended up just being like a pretty dang fun brawler Dynasty Warriors style game that was just like full of fan service. Like they took characters from every single possible game and put it in that one for Zelda or every Zelda game. And it was really cool. And then Fire Emblem Warriors was pretty good too. And now this is like just super exciting because like the Calamity in that whole thing in the 100 years before Breath of the Wild, like is this such a rich kind of area in that game's history that they don't tell you much about at all. And like, you couldn't really show like a big war in like a classic Zelda style game. And so it's really cool to see literally Onuma, the director of the Zelda series, went to Koei Tecmo and was like, what if you did a Hyrule Warriors style game to tell this story? So it's like canonical, and it's got, you're going to be playing as the champions, and it's going to tell the story that was told in Breath of the Wild as a prequel, but like in a different way. And like, I totally get if people don't like Dynasty Warriors style games, they're not for everybody, but like, this is like a really weird and cool, surprising announcement. It's just like, I'm very, very into it. I have very little to be mad about here.
Oh, for sure. Well, when I first heard the news, I like held my breath for a second because I thought this was that Breath of the Wild 2 thing.
Right.
And I was like, oh no, the Breath of the Wild 2 isn't actually Breath of the Wild 2. And then I found out it was a separate game, and I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, exactly.
and when I played Breath of the Wild, I also was like, kind of, I felt like I wanted to know more about the champions as well. And I was like, oh, they have, like, it seems like they have all these cool abilities, but we never see them really. The most they contribute is like shooting their spirit animals at Calamity Ganon in the final boss fight, which is great. But this whole, like, what is it called? Hyrule Warriors. Sorry, I keep like wanting to say like Dynasty Warriors in my head.
Yeah.
But
Totally
it's
different.
just. Is it?
No, it's a joke. But obviously it wasn't very good since I had to explain it just now. So continue.
And it has local 2-player co-op, which I'm always really happy to see, because I think that there was a period of time where that kind of got lost as like an essential, what's it called? Not spec, but like an essential thing with the game.
Yeah.
And Nega Fox. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. One of the things that was like super criticized about Hyrule Warriors was that it kind of looked like a knockoff Zelda game. Like, it looked fine. But it like wasn't like great looking. And this one they're like making in the Breath of the Wild and engine with Breath of the Wild models. So like, you look at this trailer and it just looks like Breath of the Wild, like 100%, because it is all that same sort of tech going into it. So yeah, that's like, it feels like they're taking what would be like a side thing and treating it really, really nice. And I feel like Nintendo's been doing that a lot more lately. They did it with, like Cadence of Hyrule. Like, honest to God, I think Mario and Rabbids really like changed their minds about like, maybe we can trust some more third-party devs with like more sort of like a bigger load for the the RIPs, because like Mario and Rabbids did a great job with that, to the point where in the 35th anniversary Mario thing recently, they put that game in the graphic of like 35 years of Mario that you can play on Switch, which is like wild because it's a spin-off game. So I'm just excited about this. I'm just really excited about this.
So they also put Mario Tennis there, and I'm like,
all right, well, that's
I don't even play that, but that's theirs. That's their like whack game.
Yeah.
Versus this good game they didn't make, but they're like, it's got our character in it. Yeah, I'm interested in this solely because like I never played the first Hyrule Warriors, but it feels like it'll be good to get into it in the lead up to Breath of the Wild 2, which is also why this is also a smart play, because it's like, okay, did you not catch it the first time? It doesn't look as like not a Zelda game as the other one, as Tom just mentioned. And, what else are you going to do when you're waiting for Breath of the Wild 2? Like, why not dig more into lore? Speculate on the game based on this game. Like, it really, like, leans into the hype ramp up and, like, the lore of what they're kind of building with the, I guess, like, Breath of the Wild storyline, essentially. This will also be kind of, like, I think the thickest through line they've had maybe ever. Obviously, all the games are connected, but also, are they? Like, they have that timeline, but it's sort of, they're like, this is when this happened. And you're like, look, if you didn't have anything to say, you didn't have to put this in the book. You didn't have to just make up stuff. But this is a lot more like integrated. So I'm interested in this also, in the idea of like, what is Zelda going to start to become this kind of franchise that has like these vignettes of storylines that they go through several games. Like, I think that's a really interesting like kind of idea that they're opening up with doing this, even beyond just having the direct sequel. Like, this really shows that they have like a rich plan for what this game is. And if anything, it gets me more excited about what Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be, because they seem to really be thinking through this storyline in a deeper way than they ever have before. That's not to say the other stories are bad. It's just that they happen and then they're done, and it's always Ganon. You kind of know what to expect with these. But here they're like, no, you're going to live in this world with these characters for years across different games that all have this like visual like connectivity to them, and I think that's really interesting.
It's a different era for Zelda for sure.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of Breath of the Wild 2, that's a perfect segue into our next story, which is about that, and about that there's no updates for it. So Onuma, who Tom mentioned is producer of the Legend of Zelda series, said fans will have to, quote, wait a bit longer for new updates. And that came during the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity announcement. He asked for patience. His direct quote was, regarding the sequel, in order to make the vast world you enjoyed exploring in the original game even more impressive, the team is working hard on its development, so you'll have to wait a bit longer before we can provide more updates. My question for all of you, do we think it launches 2021?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Janet is skeptical.
Yeah. It took the only thing I have to say here is it took so long for Breath of the Wild 1 to come out. So long. It took so long. It didn't even make it. It barely made it in the console. They're like, I guess we have to make the Wii U version. It felt like a Kickstarter where they like really misshot the time. And they're like, people still want it on the DS. Oh, we did promise that to our backers. It was sort of that situation because people bought the Wii U for Breath of the Wild. So like that, and then it's supposed to be bigger and better. I know it's the same engine. Oh, it saves some time. But also, to be honest, I don't know that much about game development because I haven't made a game. I always will lean on it will take longer because it's so massive. My only prediction is that it will be, well, I do want it to be coming out at the same time as Horizon Zero Dawn 2 because I think that'd be hilarious. But, so I'm hoping for that just because it would be so funny, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a while.
That'd be tragic.
It is mean, but like,
how a while, like 2022? Are you looking like 2023?
I'm thinking 2023. Like
what?
Way out there.
No
That's so long, Janet.
For this game, Hyrule Warriors?
No.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Not the game that got the release date announced today and is in like
I was
2 months.
Okay.
We're talking about a different game, Josh.
2023. All right.
Early in the year, I was before times, I speculated that I thought that Breath of the Wild could potentially come out. Breath of the Wild 2 could potentially come out end of this year. And then obviously a global pandemic happened and Nintendo got seemingly hit pretty hard in terms of how much it screwed up their plans. That's, speculative from the outside, but like all their stuff seemed to slow down to a halt for a little bit. Now I think it's absolutely safe to say, obviously it's not coming this year, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's still next year. I don't know. I think you're right, Janet, that they do spend a lot of time on Zelda games and it's big, but like they go big or go home, right? And they delay them for a long time. So you're not wrong, but like I have this feeling that one's closer than I think it's closer than we think it is. And this leads me to believe that almost like that they're trying to tie stuff in as much as they can with that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's speculation. The thing in this statement too that's more interesting to me, like, is he says, in order to make the vast world you already enjoyed exploring in the original game even more impressive, the team is working hard on development. Which to me, like, there was speculation when they did the very first trailer back at E3 last year of like, is this in the same Hyrule? If this is a sequel, like, are we in the same Hyrule, but things have changed? Because they literally showed that shot of Hyrule Castle lifting out of the ground, and it looked to be relatively the same map. So, like, is this going to be, like, the same map, but remixed with changes? Is, like, are they fleshing it out more? Like, that throws a little bit of fuel on that speculative fire of, like, maybe this is not going to be, like, a brandy new Zelda game like we're expecting. Like, I obviously think it's going to be a new game, but like it might share some geometry there.
Yeah, the whole thing about playing in the same map, it like takes away the impact of that of the first game where you're exploring the whole map.
Right.
So if
and that's speculative. This is all speculative, but
right. Yes. But it does, if it is the same map, basically it is kind of, I don't know how they'll reignite that magic from the first game.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I guess time will tell, and we'll find out in 2023 because Janet has cursed the game, and we're going to have to wait that long.
And that's my idea of, like, I think they'd announced it earlier. They're like, it's going to come out X date. and then I think it's going to get delayed. I would be really surprised if it didn't get a few delays. But maybe it won't. Maybe they have a better sense of the trajectory this time.
Well, the good thing with release dates is that eventually we have to find out. So we'll know our answer eventually. And
Metroid Prime 4 has proved that is not true.
Oh, shoot. Tom, I mean, but eventually.
Nope.
Okay,
well, it's going to be the most high-profile canceled game ever now, Sydney. Thanks.
You guys stop saying these things. I am not even a huge Zelda fan, and I am now so supremely stressed out for everyone who's looking.
You heard it here for unless we're wrong, and then just delete the episode. Like
Halo Infinite just got canceled too.
Crazy.
No, that's a joke. That's a joke.
Everybody, get out of here. Well, speaking of
Halo Warriors coming out next winter.
I would cry. It's okay.
You don't want a Halo Warriors game? That sounds dope.
It would make for good TV or internet, whatever. So real quick, we're going to log off like super quick, but we got to talk about it because Tom mentioned it earlier and it'd be weird not to talk about it. Announcement of an announcement. So Dune's first trailer will premiere on Twitter, which was announced on the Twitter Movies account, which I thought was really interesting that it wasn't just from the Dune movie Twitter account, but that's fine. And it actually gave us a 45-second teaser. I have been very excited about this movie. I'm not like super endemic or anything, but I loved watching the old Dune movie, which was from '84 and not super well received, but it is kind of a cult film now. Highly suggest watching it. It's a good time. It was by David Lynch, and this upcoming one has Timothée Chalamet, who may I just inject and say, I do have the Chalamet bug. I'm pretty embarrassed about it, but he's a little cutie. Look at his face. And Oscar Isaac, also cute. I'm not going to go through and tell you everybody's cute, but it does have
everybody in this movie is cute.
I would say it has an incredibly good looking cast. I mean, they have Zendaya, Josh Brolin, and it is directed by Denis Villeneuve. The future is sexy. And yeah, Villeneuve did Arrival and Blade Runner 2049. It's scheduled for release on December 18th, 2020. It is coming out or being released by Warner Brothers, distributed by Warner Brothers, who also did Tenet, and obviously Tenet is out in theaters right now. So I feel like if that's any indication in terms of if the state of things stays the same or gets slightly better, I would imagine that they will release Dune as planned, unless there's any huge hiccups in the post-production realm of things. I have to ask, did anybody watch the teaser? But before I pass it off, I must say, I could not take it seriously. I thought it was very bad indication of what's to come. And I don't know if I don't know if I'm being overly critical, but it didn't wow me. So anyone else, hot takes?
Not all at once.
No one else, hot takes.
Lukewarm. No,
I haven't seen the footage yet. I'm gonna go watch it.
I loved Denis Villeneuve. I think he's a great filmmaker. I like the things he makes, right? And I'm excited for whatever this is gonna look like, but also he doesn't make like 100% gold. Like he's had misfires. So like I just need to see the actual trailer too. I think I'm with you. It set a mood that's I'm into and I'm intrigued by, but that's about all you get of a teaser of a trailer, right? It's not a lot to go on. I don't have a lot of like deep-seated love for Dune as a franchise either. Like I know a lot of people, not saying I'm hating it or anything. It's just like I know a lot of people are really crazy into Dune, and I'm just like I'm not super familiar with it. I know it has a very good but complicated board game and a very bad but loved movie, and like that's kind of all I know about like what spun off from
a resume.
Yeah. Obviously the book, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that my issue, again, totally open for being wrong, because it's a 45-second teaser and all of the stills that I've seen look incredible. I think it was Vanity Fair that put them out a while back. But I don't know. I couldn't remove like all of Timothée Chalamet's past roles from his VO, and it just felt like very confusing that this little like angsty like hot boy was just like brooding over the VO. It was a lot for me. So
that's acting.
I'm open though to being really great. We'll find out tomorrow. There was no time. I don't know if I said that. Yeah, so it's premiering tomorrow. it's tomorrow on that Twitter account or on Twitter. They didn't give a time though, so I guess just like keep your eyes open. I would imagine it'll be in the morning though.
Just stay awake. Don't sleep tonight, everybody.
Yeah, you could be the first. Janet, do you have any like affinity towards Dune? Are you remotely interested in this?
No, I really am not interested in Dune. So
That's
there's not really much to say about that. It's just not something I like ever got into. So it's sort of, I'm not like definitely not going to see the movie or anything because I definitely will impulse watch movies. So that's become less of a thing with the pandemic since it's like, if I can't eat like $20 of nachos and drink a slushie, I'm not willing to sit through something I don't like because it's like, why am I sitting through discomfort in the comfort of my own home? See, if I'm out, we're doing something, we're hanging out, we can like talk about it after. It's a whole event. But like here, it's like, why am I watching this bad movie at home? Like if I end up not liking it or something. So I'm a little bit less inclined to do that, but I'm not going to say I'd never watch it. It's just not something that like I didn't read the books or like get into the lore. And it definitely, when it comes to that stuff of that genre, it's sort of like if you don't already know it, are you really gonna like connect with it in the same way? And those can be kind of hit or miss. So based on this teaser, I don't have any different opinion than that, but we'll see when the full thing comes out, because that should give a better sense of like what to expect, especially as an outsider. So we'll see.
Josh, before we jet.
Yeah.
Dang it. That's a dumb joke. That was so far off. I was thinking like jets are really futuristic and like Dune's in the future. So like
that's
I was
a stretch.
Like, before we
you're gonna go for like a Josh Jet, Joan Jet sort of thing. But
how do you feel about this?
I don't care about Dune, but I do care about Denis Villeneuve. And nice. I love his movies. I've seen all of them except for I think all his English language ones, I think. So I think one of the first ones I watched was Enemy, which was starring Jake Gyllenhaal, where he finds his own doppelganger. Incredible. Love that movie. Most traumatic ending to a movie I've ever seen in my entire life. But hopefully that doesn't, like, the last, like, 30 seconds of that movie are just, they were breathtaking. So, yeah, he's a great director. To me, he's batting 1,000. So, yeah, I'm very excited just because he's attached to this. That's all.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, we will get an incredibly pretty film. And if he can do any justice to the source material, so I've heard, it should be good. So tune in to Twitter tomorrow.
Tune in. Not our Twitter. Time. Well, you can tune in our Twitter. We'll probably post it really quick.
We're really fast, so I'm sure we'll be good. But thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to News, Games,
more.
and more. Yeah.
Yeah.